So that's conditional, yes. Answer your question. Conditional, yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 6:30, and I will call this regular meeting of the Burnsville City Council to order. It is our tradition to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have announcements for our upcoming meetings. Regular council meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, February 21st at 6:30 p.m. and Tuesday, March 7th at 6:30 p.m. We have a work session that's scheduled for Tuesday, February 14th at 6:30 p.m. All meetings are held here in the council chambers. We then move on to citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council on an item that is not on the printed agenda and not an application form that will be coming before us at a future date. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council? Anyone who wishes to address the council? Seeing no one, I will then move on. The next item is additions to the final agenda, and this is for emergency items only. Ms. Johnston, are there any emergency items to come before the body?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Members of the council? Okay, thank you. We'll move on. The next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item can be removed from the consent agenda for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item on the consent agenda to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Anyone who wishes an item to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Ms. Johnston?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Members of the council? May I have a motion, please?
Motion approved. Second.
Councilmember Coughlin makes the motion, second by Councilmember Gustafson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Thank you. We then move on to the regular agenda. The first item on the regular agenda is item number 5, and this is to approve the 2017 Ames Center Advisory Commission work plan and to adopt the revisions to policy 1.023 and policy 1.024. Ms. Kathy Cleveland is the Ames Center Advisory Commission Chair. Good evening, and welcome, Ms. Cleveland.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members. And
Okay, there the,
there we go.
it's all up.
Guess Okay, let's start over. Madam Mayor, City Council members, good evening. And thank you for the opportunity to present to you. I'm Kathy Cleveland from the Ames Center Advisory Commission. And I'm here tonight to present the 2017 Ames Work Plan. Whoa. Not the right one.
Okay.
I will just, it's moving awful fast. There we go.
Restart that over. You want to start that? Is it the same?
And then just,
It's not wanting to. It's not wanting to do this right.
okay. Our agenda tonight is brief. We'll start with the 2016
It's gonna
work
keep going.
plan. And we have banshees in our technology tonight.
It's-
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
okay.
I
We'll
think
begin
Julie
with-
needs to, in case we need, yeah, sit close by.
Um,
Mr. Schreck.
We'll begin with the 2016 review, and then we will move on to our 2017 work plan, and then leave a few minutes for comments or questions that you may have. So in 2016, we had a very successful year. We had many great attended shows and actually had 12 sold-out performances. So we have an example here of 3 of those sold out, beginning with the Nutcracker, a favorite of many, many people. The Twin Cities Ballet actually had 5 performances, and all 5 sold out. The next was the Oak Ridge Boys, and they never disappoint us with their great country music and family fun, and sold out. Finally, Steve Vai, who is a Grammy Award-winning guitarist, considered to be one of the top 10 guitarists in the world, sold out. Let's see here. We move on to, here we go. We move on to the concession stand, which was completed in November. Let's see if I can go back here. There. Completed in November, and the highlights of the concession stand were 3 points of sale, and then 3 LED boards that actually have menus on either side, and then in the middle, they have the continuing shows. So as patrons are waiting in line, they can also be viewing and planning their next coming show. So we had a full month of success with that. December was the first month we actually had to track sales, and we did have a reduction in the wait time in the lines, as well as an increase in per patron spending. So we believe that this improvement, this capital improvement to the Ames Center will provide a return on our investment for many years to come. We also had, okay. We also had, as part of our mission for the Ames Center, it's to involve the community. And as a result of that, we had $2,500 in tickets that were given to the community organization. And our staff strives to really serve the community and keep them safe. And as part of that, Ted Jacobson and Andy Billig completed the National Weather Survey Storm Ready Support Program on behalf of the Ames Center, as well as Kelsey and Ted graduated from the Venue Management School. So we're keeping Ted really busy. Well, let's try this again. Perhaps, okay.
It's not wanting to cooperate with you.
It is not cooperating, so I am just
So
gonna-
have Julie manage your, and you can,
Okay, let's go back one more. Let's go way back, yes. Okay, next one. You know, perhaps I am most proud of the fellow commissioners as well as the Ames Center city staff, the Ames Center staff in the progress that we've made in reducing the deficit. For the past 8 years, we've gone from nearly 600,000 in debt to less than 35,000 in 2016. So I'd like to say congratulations to Brian and to his staff
Yeah.
for tremendous, tremendous efforts in reducing the debt
yeah, deficit.
deficit.
Yeah.
So, our patron survey. What are you doing?
Pretty sensitive.
Our 2016 and 2015 patron survey remained constant, with the good and average results being about 76% in both 2015 and 2016. Our work plan, We will continue to work with city staff to review the new management contract that's, will be beginning in January of 2019. That's a 5-year contract for the management. As always, we will recommend the annual budget to the city council and continue to review performance and financial measurements. We will be an ambassador. As part of our mission, we'll be ambassadors to the Ames Center and every opportunity that we can. Yeah. We'll continue to gauge the customer experience, and probably the most important item that we'll be working on and that we have worked on and voted on is a review of policy 1.023, which is the Ames Center Advisory Commission. And the only change we made, it was very minor. Was very minor, and it was to take out the reference to FOPAC. And as we all know, they were a huge benefit for us, but they are no longer a committee.
Well,
So
their mission was complete.
the mission was
It's complete, and then they folded.
And in addition to that, the commission is now 7 members instead of 9, which changes the quorum to 4. And policy 1.024, which is the Angel Fund, we've updated the description by changing the increments of donation and the recognition of donors to allow for more flexibility. We've also established measurements for the repayment of the EDA fund. There we go. On January 25th, the Ames Advisory Commission voted to recommend to City Council the approval of our 2017 work plan and the revisions to policy 1.023 and policy 1.024.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Cleveland?
No, I'd just say you did a great job considering the equipment continually moved on its own without
It had
any
its own- it
desire
minded
for
its own,
following
yeah.
what you wanted to do, right?
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before you leave, I just want to commend you and the commission for the work that you do in service to our community and for the recommendations that you bring to us. But for the work that you all do on our commission, you know, it helps us to make good decisions. And to Mr. Luther and your staff, thank you for the excellent work that you're being doing with regard to the management of the Ames Center and the progress that it continues to make. So thank you very much. We appreciate all that you do. And you're coming up to a very busy season, and you're really going to work that new concession stand because I know that from February on to June, all those competitions are coming to town, and I was just talking to one of our restaurateurs, and they're geared up. I think after a few years, they now know that they have to gear up for all of that activity. So thank you very much for all of that work, and to the commissions, thank you. And I see that Councilmember Coughlin, you want to speak? You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like you to recognize any other commission out in the audience, please.
Yes,
Thank
I think if the commissioners would stand, I think
Robert Morrison.
Mr. Morrison is with us this evening as well. And thank you so much for all that you do in support of, he's our vice chair. Okay, Councilmember Keeley.
One question, to go from around 600,000 loss in 1 year to a little under 35,000 is worthy of an applause, and I think we ought to give them one.
Yeah.
So I'll follow that up with a question. What tools do you need to break even or hit into positive ground over the next 12 to 24 months, in your opinion? And if Brian would want to come up to the podium
Mr.
and
Luther,
give
do
us
you
a
have
comment or two,
any
that would be great.
input for that? Keep his contract on. Keep his
No,
contract.
that, you know, we plan on hitting 0 by the time our 19
Yeah.
comes around.
Well, I mean, it's a little premature to say. You know, the question did catch me off guard just a little,
Apologize.
but that's okay. I think it's something that, you know, as we look as a team, and I was just talking to the staff today, that, you know, we had a chance to finally all sit down together and say they just did a great job this year. I mean, everyone did. I think what we need to do is continue to build on what we've been building on for the last, you know, 5-8 years, and keep moving forward. And having concession stand the new concession stand is a huge tool for us to continue to develop the relationships with the promoters that we've had, to continue to focus on the programming, the dance competitions, and bringing people into Burnsville that are going to be going to our restaurants and our hotels and our retail locations. It's just we keep building, and I think this year really just showed that we can take it to another step, another level, and we keep moving on that progress. So, you know, 12 to 24 months, that's a tough number to say exactly where and what we could do, but it's definitely something we're thinking about, and we're thinking of continued growth.
Sure. Thank you, and may I follow up?
Yes.
Well, the one thing I would like you to think about is, you know, the model could be made up of a number of different ways to improve financial performance, but achieve other goals like raising the level of awareness and prestige in the industry of our facility. So it'd be great if you would come back to us in a future date and really to answer the question, what's the roadblock to get into profitability?
Okay.
And so we've done a lot over the last several years. We've given you some additional tools. They seem to be working, and what you're doing is working. What is it, you know, what do we need to do now to get over that line? Because you're within striking distance. You're so close.
Yeah.
So that'd be great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, one more comment. All of the new performances that you're bringing in, I mean, the Beatles review, that was so well done. And this is an opportunity for you to tell people what are the big shows that are coming up, because there are some
Sure.
that I've already checked off.
Well, we made a very big announcement today with Paul Schaefer and the
Yes.
World's Most Dangerous Band. We announced
Yeah.
that today for July
That's
1st.
fantastic.
And so we're going to be going on sale with that here very shortly. So that's a very big show for us. We're very pleased with. We have One Night of Queen coming up, which is another great performance. They were here last year and performed to very big numbers. And so there's a lot going on. And that's what we're trying to do, is keep our calendar busy with a lot of programming that people are going to want to come out and essentially just have a good time. And so.
So I have some friends who we were going to go to the show on the 22nd, and guess what the 22nd is? Council meeting. I
Yes.
can't go.
Oh.
It's on a Tuesday
Oh,
night.
no. Maybe there's enough time afterwards that you can swing
Yes,
over right
yeah.
away. So
I've done that before.
yes, I know you have. I know.
Yeah, but
So.
very nicely done. Some really good
you.
shows.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you very much.
And I would also add to that, ambassadors for all of us, I think the more that we're out in the community and share the experience and to continue to listen to our customers and our consumers on what their experience is. All of our improvements are a direct result of tracking that and listening to our customers and what they desire.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
coming in. Okay. Members of the council, I need a vote to adopt the work plan.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Coughlin makes a motion, second by Councilmember Keeley. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. Thank you. The next is the Economic Development Commission's work plan. Mr. Amit Shah is going to be presenting. Mr. Shah. Good evening.
Good evening, Burnsville Council. So, in 2017, we've been working on the Open to Business, Greater MSB, the Legislative Agenda, and Burnsville Commercial Real Estate Council, BREC. Do you want me to talk about 2016? I'm sorry.
It would be nice, not just for us, because we know, but it's for the community to see the work that you've done.
Okay.
And we really appreciate all of the work that you all have done to help us
Sure.
move our economic vitality forward.
So, in 2016, Industrial Equities came to us with the TIP incentive project that we approved. A retail futures, retention, industry piece that we came across, and then also the comp plan that, of course, we're all contemplating what's that gonna look like in 2020.
Okay, very good. Any questions? I want to tell you, we really appreciate all the work that you folks do to help us and your involvement with the work that we do to open to business. So we really understand what small businesses are doing here in Burnsville, but also to look to the future and how we attract new businesses. But that's a lot of work with working with our property owners. But thank you so much with all of that. And I know that you've been on top of our legislative agenda with regard to the issues that have to do with the MRQ and the extension of our tax increment financing. Okay, great. Councilmember Keeley, did you want, I didn't see your name here, but I see your
Green light was
finger.
still
Your-
lit from the
it's
last
not-
time.
Yeah, it's not, but, yes.
Thank you. Well, I just, thank you for the work you're doing, and I think with some of the projects that we have lined up for 2017 and some new things coming, it's going to be a pretty exciting period of time, 2017, 18, 19 forward. And so the commission, whereas we've gone through a few years where your agenda was really light, you're going to have some more, I think, work to do and some things that'll be fun to work on. And it'll be great to see the commission more active and obviously just the economic development in our city more active. So thank you very much for what you guys are doing.
Well,
Guys,
thank you, Councilmember Keeley.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Shaw? Thank you so much, and thank you for
Thank you.
coming in, and please extend our appreciation to the rest of the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion, please, to adopt the 2017 plan for the EDA? It's on the back side.
No, I'm asking, yeah. Move to approve. Not what I
Councilmember,
was asking, but that's okay.
Councilmember Keeley makes the motion.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Copeland. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and a motion carries. Thank you very much. We now move on to item number 7, and this is to approve the 2017 Planning Commission Work Plan. Presenting this evening is Chair Jim Bradrick of the Planning Commission, and also present is Mr. Steve Benke from the commission, who is here. So thank you, Mr. Benke, for coming to support Chair Bradrick.
Madam Mayor, council members,
Yeah,
thank you
so
very much
you-
for
you
your
got a
time
good-
this evening.
Yeah.
I brought the knowledgeable,
Ms. Dorshak to
we,
Does your
thank you,
presentation have a mouse inside?
thank you very much for your time this evening. I spent a little bit of time reviewing our 2016 accomplishments, and a couple of them have moved to 2017. We did complete a solar energy ordinance review. I know there was a couple of things that came in front of you during the year. We spent some time looking at the 50% building perimeter and landscape standard, and we ended up not making any changes to that. We did work, and you approved the completed sign ordinance for the legacy events. Thank you very much. And there was a fair amount of time in 2016 that was put into the 2040 comprehensive plan. Couple of things that we're still working on that will come back to you, to us here in 2017. We are working on standards for monument signs to try to clean up some issues we've had in the past. Performance standards for conditional uses in R1, things like churches and schools and things that are in the residential districts. And then we are working on performance standards for outdoor special events. And then the STEM permitted use was a change from the council, and we did not address that. So our 2017 work plan is kind of as follows. We are going to do a one-year kind of review of our solar ordinance. That'll be interesting to see if there's been some new updates in the past year. We do intend to have the standards there for our conditional standards for R1. We have already started the last couple meetings on monument signs. That should come back to us pretty quickly. Establish performance standards for outdoor special events, and then not last but not least is to continue the comprehensive plan update. Couple of things that have been put on our list, the upkeep of private residential neighborhood entrance signs. We're going to look at that. I don't know if there's something we can do with that. There's some tricky stuff there from the
Yeah.
standpoint of who owns that
Yeah.
and what we have. A couple years ago, you were involved in our architectural review tool, and we want to know if that's working and do a little bit of time on that. And then we are going to look at illumination hours. We had a couple of applications that came in front of us specifically off of McAndrews Road from the standpoint of illuminated signs and how they affect the residential neighborhoods around them. Number 9, I'm kind of personally focused on is research industry in other cities for process to review allow new exterior materials. We've struggled with what's required from a CUP and what's not. We want to look at that and see if we're competitive and figure out if we've got opportunities to make that a little more user-friendly. And number 10, zoning uses and process comparison with surrounding cities, also something I'm a little passionate about. I want to try to figure out if we can make ourselves a little more competitive in certain areas, specifically in the commercial and the business districts. And then a quick review of the fence materials. We've had some stuff come in front of us specifically about fencing and what that looks like and what would be usable. So this is the plan, kind of laid out by quarter. Naturally, the things that we did not complete in 2016, we typically pull to the top of the list in 2017. Some of them should happen relatively quickly. And then you'll see how the rest of the materials that I talked about kind of flow through for 2017. So kind of a packed list. With the comprehensive plan being in there, we've got a pretty sizable load to carry in front of us. Besides the twice a month meetings with commissions, we are having monthly meetings now with the comp plan review. So, council members, with that, I would stand for questions and would seek your approval of our 2017 work plan.
Thank you very much. One of the things that we looked at are the council priorities. And I believe that some of that is there, but that's a huge list that came out of the all-day work session, which council, I think we're going to have to help staff because I think you're going to need some consulting help. When I look at the list that you have from 2016 and the items that you have put on from the Planning Commission's perspective, then you have our items that came from the all-day work session that's going to go on governance, and that's a huge piece. Council, I think you ask the Ames Center Commission, is there something that they need from us? I think the planning department is going to need some help from us. So, and I know in the background, staff is looking for some direction with some of those items. So I think what we need to do to help them complete the work that they're doing, because I think you're going to move some of this stuff to 2018. I just can't see you completing all of this. And then for our community development director and the staff and planning to finish all the priorities that we have put onto your plate as well.
If it wasn't a comp plan review year, maybe a little different story. But for the time that I've been on the planning commission, we probably moved more from 2016 into 2017 than we have in the past. And so, yes, some ranking of some priorities would be beneficial.
Yeah. I'm, Ms. Faulkner.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, if you're okay with some of these extending into 2018, then that's likely what's going to happen without any additional resources. However, we're already out on our calendar until September after we take into account the all-day work session items, after we've got those plugged in. So it's likely some of these will not, the ones we've already have started from 2016 are currently being worked on. So any new items won't likely be programmed until sometime in the fall. If any of these are very, very important to you, then we could use planning consultants to help us do a lot of the research. We have some nominal amounts of monies budgeted for that, but if any of these are really important, you know, we should talk about that and getting some, a budget amendment, getting some estimates and a budget amendment to move these along quicker than what we can do with the staff we have.
Yeah, council, what we can do is approve it provisionally, but come back to a work session with the planning commission and say, here are some things that you can do, but here are some things that if we want to get them all done this year, then this is how much money it's going to need.
Okay.
And I think the only way that we can understand that is when you tell us
Okay.
what that might be. And I think a work session is a good place for us to do that, but we can approve the plan provisionally and then prioritize it at a work session and then amend the budget, because it's going to need some resources. Some big stuff that we put on it too. So, but when you make the motion, we'll get there. So I'm going to go to Councilmember Gustafson and then Councilmember Keeley. Councilmember Gustafson.
Commissioner, when I was looking over this plan, which is a good plan, it struck me that there was a lot of discussion last year about the exterior materials being used, the PUD process that has to happen to use the same materials that's already been used, and just some of the new trends in architecture. And I'm looking at it being finished in the third quarter, is kind of beyond the building season in Burnsville, as we start looking toward economic development. Is there a way to kind of move that in a different way so that we can kind of get to it sooner?
And I think that's what I said. Let's prioritize which moves up and which moves down. And we won't know that until we get to a work session and the Planning Commission and our staff can bring that information to us. And then we can understand how much money is going to be needed to complete that work.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Gustafson, I would agree. I think we'd have to work with staff from the standpoint of how we could, I think all of it can be reprioritized, and then we just need to have a list top to bottom. And in some cases, I do think there's several things here that we could take off the list or push into 2018. And I think we've all got some thoughts about which ones might happen a little quicker than other ones. But once again, we're gonna have to plug in staff resources.
Okay?
Thank you.
Councilmember Keeley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First thing, the item that you touched on, research industry and other cities for process review, allow existing materials, et cetera, and the one addressing
The competitiveness.
competitive analysis. I'm very interested in both of those from comments prior, especially the competitiveness. I mean, if you want to maintain and retain business and attract business, you darn well better know what your competition is doing, and you better do it better than them. And we have an example of where we're getting beat right now on a particular zone by Egan, and I don't want to let that happen again. So I want that to be addressed this year, if at all possible. And I think outside of that, it is a big list, and I think once we address this at a work session and can prioritize, we may actually, decide that some of these things can move to 2018.
Yeah.
Give them a palette in 2017, or allow them to have a palette. I think they're presenting this saying, I think we can get it done, maybe. But it's a heavy lift. I mean, Planning Commission does phenomenal, heavy lifting on behalf of the council and the citizens, so thank you, Mr. Chair, for all the work that you and the commission do. It is a tough one of all the commissions. It's a really heavy workload, and I don't want you to take on more than you can really handle. So if we get through that priority list, things can move to 2018, and we may not have to supplement,
Yeah.
or it could determine how much needs
Yeah.
to be supplemented from a budget standpoint from outside
Consultants.
consultants. Because you have this one elephant in the room, the 2040 comp plan, that's sort of sucking up a lot of resources, but that's not going to happen year after year after year. It's done at the end of this year, and so 2018 is going to, so I don't want to add a bunch of expense in 2017 just to get through some things, and when we have a factor that's influencing it, that's
Yeah.
got an end date, right? So that's my 2 cents. So
And that's why I think doing that work at a work session with more information, and the commission and our staff come in and say, okay, here's some things we can do, and here's some things we can push back. And then we can enter into a dialogue about all of that and what's more important. But because you do have a huge, when I looked at the work plan that you presented, and then the priorities that we put on top of it, that's going to be even more of a lift. So I think moving all of this to a work session is the right thing to do, but I think adopting this provisionally and then reprioritizing it at a work session.
Agreed, and I'll be happy to make the motion even though there may be some other comments.
Yeah. Well, you can make the motion and it can be second and the discussion can continue.
Sure. Motion to approve with provision to reevaluate at a future work session to develop a priority list to revamp the ultimate work plan that is presented in front of us.
I'll second that.
Okay, Councilmember Keely makes the motion, second by Councilmember Gustafson. Councilmember Gustafson, you have comments to make.
Not comments, just a question, staff maybe is, how soon could we get this to a work session?
I will go to
wait till
our
September.
city manager.
Can't wait till September, so-
Yeah, no.
Madam Mayor, Councilmember Gustafson, we do have the next couple of work sessions pretty packed, but we will look at it and see there is a possibility that we might have an item drop off, an item or two perhaps drop off, not in the March work session. And so then we would probably plug it in at that
I
point.
just don't want to
So-
lose the building season here. this
Yeah,
year.
no,
Yeah.
we'll look and see how we can plug that in.
If it comes in April, I think we're okay. And I think it's
Yeah, we'll
doable,
look at-
because we already have the agenda for February in place. Okay. Yes, Ms. Faulkner?
First, before I ask my comment, is my button working?
Yes, your
Okay.
button is finally working, and now I can,
I raise
it
my
is, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the
It wasn't-
confirmation.
Yeah.
I would just add, just for clarity, I don't believe we're going to get to the architectural discussion before April or March construction season, because there's a lot of discussion to be had with the planning commission. And so then they'll provide direction to staff to either bring something back to you at a work session or to prepare an ordinance, and then that has to go through the notification process. So I believe, in all reality, it's going to be very challenging, even if we started today, to get something done before construction season
Yeah.
starts in April or May. So I don't want you to have expectations that I can't
Or at
meet.
least during.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I understand what you want, and certainly we'll try to make that happen, but
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you're not let down, so.
Yeah, and what we all need to understand is that our process is so protracted that it has many hearings and it has many meetings and it's all on TV, so it's transparent and the public knows everything that we're doing. So when it comes to us, it's had a lot of iterations before the public. And that's what's going on here. So, yeah, that's a big piece. It's good to let everybody know what the expectations are. Okay, Councilmember Keely.
Well, just one final comment to get it on a work session earlier. I mean, our work sessions are already 2 to 2.5 hours, and that's where a lot of our heavy lifting is done at meetings. So these dais meetings are a little shorter because we do a lot of the public
Yeah.
discussion at the work session. For me, whether it's a 2-hour and 30-minute or a 2-hour and 50-minute or a 3-hour and 15-minute, doesn't really matter. It's a long meeting, and I think we need to get it on the calendar, period.
I'll make sure we
Whether something
have
falls off or
breaks.
not doesn't matter to me. I think we need to get it on the March
Okay.
calendar, period. That's my position.
Okay, I'll make sure we have breaks. I know
We don't
I
have
just
to.
motor through all of this stuff and just keep moving, but we'll have breaks. Okay, if we're going to do that.
It is
Okay.
worth noting that those meetings happen after a full day on the job working. So
Yeah.
it's 2 to 3 hours on top of our 10-hour day. So anyway.
Okay, very good. Any other comments? If not, there is a motion and a second on the floor. Are we ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. Thank you very much.
much.
Thank you, Chair Broderick, thank you. And now we are at item number 8. Item number 8 is this continuing special meeting of the Economic Development Authority. I will recess the Burnsville City Council meeting so the Economic Development Authority meeting can convene. President Keeley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll now call to order the meeting of the Burnsville Economic Development Authority. For the record, we have all commissioners present. I do have on my agenda a Pledge of Allegiance, so if we would like to do that a second time tonight, we could, but I struck it off because we've already done that.
Yeah, and it's not necessary.
Additions to the final agenda, are there any? Seeing none, commissioners, moving on. We have a election of officers by resolution, which was continued from our January 17th meeting. I will entertain a nomination slate. Commissioner Couts?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and members of the commission, I'd like to nominate for a slate for President Commissioner Keeley, Vice President Commissioner Coughlin, for Treasurer Commissioner Gustafson, and for City Clerk and Secretary, the Secretary is our City Clerk, Michelle Collins, and for the City Finance Director to hold the position of Assistant Treasurer. And I think, is that Ms. Hardy or is that Ms. Stride?
I believe we have Ms. Dry in
Ms.
that, but we
Dry.
do it by position, I
Yep,
believe.
okay. And our city manager as the executive director. That, I propose that slate, Mr. President, to be considered by the commissions.
Thank you, Commissioner Couts, and I appreciate the vote of confidence to continue serving as president for the EDA. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Coughlin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? And the motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate the vote of confidence. We have a lot of work to do in 2017. Next item on our agenda is consent, approval of minutes from the January 17th meeting. Any corrections to the minutes with that? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Coughlin, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Schultz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion continues, or motion is passed. That is it for the regular agenda. We have nothing under miscellaneous. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Coughlin. Second. Second by Commissioner Gustafson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we are closed. Madam Mayor, turn the council meeting back over to you.
Thank you. I will now reconvene the Burnsville City Council, and there are no other items to come before the body, and a motion to adjourn is in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Councilmember Coughlin makes the motion, second by Councilmember Keeley. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. Good night, and thank you for being with us.